This should be an interesting video, huh?
Oh, yes.
We've been wanting to do this for quite a while. We just never got around to it.
Well, we literally didn't have a unit in the store until just recently.
Yeah. So it should be interesting. Everyone, I'm Adrian from Audio Excellence Canada. Philip and Jerry behind the camera. Say hi.
Why are you not talking? My name is Jeff. It's Jefe, man.
Do we actually pick that up? Are you? Yeah.
It's directional, yeah.
Okay.
So this is a long-awaited video that we've been wanting to do. This is the McIntosh MA12000 tube hybrid integrated amplifier. I remember when I got an email from McIntosh saying that this was one of the products that they were going to release, my first impression was, wow, that's a lot of money. And let me sort of express this better. The previous version was the I guess still is, the MA9000. I believe it's still available. We never really sold very many of these because for whatever reason, when you get up to that price point, most of our clients would just buy the separates for a few $1,000s more. They could afford it. There was space. They would just buy it. And we did sell some. I remember hearing it and thinking, yeah, it's very competent, very, very good, but I preferred the separates. So when the 12,000 was introduced, I thought, boy.
Well, you laughed.
Yeah, I thought that's a lot more money than I'm wondering if this is going to sell. So and then a day later, Scott, our agent, emailed and said, are you going to order some? Because usually as soon as new stuff gets emailed to me, I immediately place a big order. And I said, Scott, I don't know. It sounds like it's a lot of money. And for a little bit more, I can get the C49 with the MC312. And Scott says, I don't know. The initial orders are big. I said, really? Okay, fine. So we ordered some. And of course, as soon as it came in, well, actually, before we get to that story, let me tell you the specs. So it's 2-channel hybrid integrated amp, rated 350 watts per channel. It's got an 8-band tone control. Comes with the DA2 digital module. It has 4 12AX7 tubes in the preamp section. 17 inputs. 17. 10 analog, 7 digital. So you've got 2 XLRs, 6 RCAs, MM and MC phono stage. And then in the digital inputs, you've got 2 coax, 2 optical, 1 USB, 1 MCT, which is McIntosh's proprietary connection, and then 1 audio-only HDMI return channel, so you can connect it to your TV or your cable box, and it'll decode Dolby and DTS. And then for the USB, the specs are 32-bit, 384 kilohertz, and if it's in coax or optical, it's 24-192. It also has home theater pass-through, headphone amplifier. The width is 17.5 inches wide, 9.5 inches high, and 22 inches deep. And for the metric speaking viewers, it's 44.5 centimeters wide, 24 centimeters high, 55.88 centimeters deep, 108 pounds, which is roughly 45 kilograms, $11,000. So that was the first thing that I saw. $11,000.
No.
Wow.
It's more than that.
I thought it was 11,000. Am I wrong?
9,000 is $11,000. This is.
Well, Jerry will double check and overlay it.
14. It's about 19,000 Canadian.
Really?
Yeah. It's
so Jerry
expensive.
will check it. Yeah. I don't know why I got 11,000 here. And if it's 14, that explains even more my initial concern.
Well, your initial concern was it's really expensive. I mean, we deal with really expensive things, but
especially for an integrator. I guess I want to see stuff. I want to see boxes, right?
The only one we had seen at that price was a DVLA, and
it's a small little thing.
Yeah,
you can pick it up with one hand. So anyway, so to finish the story, so first shipment comes in, finally get a chance to unpack it. The guys did, put it on. Anyway, take it away. Tell the story.
Well, we finally got it unpacked, and we put it into a system to...
Did we do the unboxing video of this?
Jerry? I don't remember doing that.
Yeah, we did. Okay,
did?
so
Okay.
if we did, Jerry will put the link in the description box.
I had no idea what it was like. I just thought it was really expensive. And I thought, well, I mean, the 8900 is so good. What do you really need this for? Even the 9000, most people opt for the 8900 or the 7200, which is the same as the 8900 with fewer features or different features. So we put this thing in place, and my expectations were that it's going to be good, but I wasn't expecting it to be like really good. And generally speaking, the first time you put on something like that, you power it up, you listen to it, it needs break-in. And this was not the case. I mean, it does need break-in, but right out of the box, within minutes, it was luxurious to a point of, you could just wallow in this beautiful dynamic. I mean, you use all the same words because they aptly describe what happens with this amp. It just has a quality, a density, a presence from the first second that you turn this thing on, and it's instantly discernible. There's no questions about whether it's good or bad. It's just really good. It's really good. It's excellent. I don't know. It's just so transcendent that even after a very short time with it, and so I've told this story before.
I'll tell it. It's in a separate video. So
our client Len, who has DVLA stuff or had DVLA
monoblocks,
the
big stuff.
He had the big stuff, and because he downsized
from big Krells.
Big Krells, yes. And so he's retired, but he ended up with this DVLA system because he thought he needed to downsize. And he uses a pair of Totem MA12000s, which are a really fabulous speaker, but they don't make that anymore. And that's one of the speakers that Totem made their reputation on. So he's been looking forever to change those speakers, and he borrowed all sorts of stuff from us on those home trials that we do keep happening in the store. I mean, those are perks that our clients have. So he took home a couple different Sonus Fabers, which he really liked, but he said, "Oh, the bass is not right," and so he didn't end up changing his speakers. He just kept the MA12000s because it had the correct bass. Fast forward, he comes in one Saturday morning.
The next day.
The
day after we unboxed the thing.
Yes, so Jerry and I set it up, and we're talking about we set it up on the short wall, not the long wall like we normally do. We had it on the short wall, which is not as good sounding, in our main McIntosh room. And anyways, we had that thing set up, and I believe they were connected to Minimas, something like that, Sonus Faber Minimas. So it's a good little speaker, but not super great in terms of bass extension. And we listened to it like maybe it was on for 2 or 3 hours Friday, and then we went home. And I switched it on when we got in Saturday morning at 10, and Len showed up at 10:30, and he listened to it for 5 minutes. And I said to him, "Well, you can take it home and try it." And he says, "Okay." Jerry and I boxed it up. Jerry went and delivered it at 11. Len calls me back later that day. He says, "Yeah, this is the one. I'm going to keep this one." And then the deal was done. And we never even got a chance to really, extend our listening experience with it. Not until just recently, because it just didn't have it. We ordered the one, and you were afraid that it was not ever going to sell because, it's expensive. And Len took it. And Len is a retired, firefighter, ex-firefighter now, and he didn't hesitate. He's economical with his retirement income, but there was no question about buying this for his setup. And now there's no more talk about changing speakers or anything like that because this amp does exactly what he needs, and he loves it. So what more can I say about that story?
Plus also the MA12000s, they can produce a lot of bass out of a relatively small box, but you've got to have the right amps.
Oh, they're not efficient.
Yeah.
And you need really strong power, really high current, really dynamic amplifiers to drive it. Back in the day, we never used like we use big Krells to drive it. So small speaker, relatively small speaker, you need big amplifiers, big high current amplifiers with lots of control, and the McIntosh does this, and I never really quite expected it to be like that.
No, it's been a total surprise. Yeah.
So you want to go with your impressions first about what you heard?
Yeah.
You can go first this time. I'll
Okay. Okay. So, again, this morning, very early, came in, turned it on, let it warm up for about 30 minutes, and I went in to listen to it. So it had been hooked up to the Sonus Faber luminaries.
Yeah, I decided to do a budget system.
We've been getting flack. People are saying, Philip, you're vicious. $50,000.
That's
cheap.
a $50,000 system.
Yeah, but he calls it cheap. So anyway.
I call it inexpensive and affordable.
Vicious, my boy. Anyway, so right out of the gate, I thought, wow, this is so smooth. And I remember a couple, 3 days ago when we when it was on breaking in, and I casually walked by and heard the tunes.
We did run it for 3 or 4 days.
I said to Philip, boy, this is so toe tapping. It's just tremendous energy. And we weren't playing it loud. It was just in the background playing it. But you could instantly hear, the what name fanatics like, what Lynn fans used to like, or probably still do, the whole pace, rhythm, and timing thing. It has all of that. But it also has the smoothness and warmth that some of the other products don't. Very, very much toe tapping. Anyway, so that's what I started noticing right away. No sense of brightness whatsoever. Lots of, I wrote down here, width, W-I-T, supposed to be width. Lots of air and detail. As Philip said earlier, all the audiophile attributes. But more than that, it's not just an audiophile type of product. So early on, we used to carry products like Metaxas Audio Systems, MAS, and they did incredible audiophile stuff. Tremendous imaging, transparency, detail, but it wasn't musical. This, tremendously musical. And I have a whole list of musical tracks that I wrote down here, but I think I'll just list a couple. So one of the ones that I always use, Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. When you listen to David Gilmour, right as he starts playing his guitar, the guitar sounds so good. I mean, it's just so good. I've been watching a lot of videos recently on stories of how a particular album or song was created. And a lot of it, for some reason, has to do with guitar. And so maybe that's what I was paying attention to. But the guitar, David Gilmour's guitar sounds so good. I've got to hear rich without being syrupy or lacking details. And then I played something very dynamic, Boris Blank's Electrified. Wow, just dynamic, rhythmic. It woke me up. This is like 4:30 in the morning. Let's see, Roger Waters' Amused to Death. By the way, if you don't have this, but you have streaming service like Tidal, check it out, Amused to Death. It's recorded in Q Sound. So when your system's set up properly, you'll hear this extremely atmospheric, very 3D sound with only 2 speakers. You don't need surround sound. There's a part where about 2-3 minutes into the song, the thunder rolls, and it's like Garth Brooks, thunder rolls, and you hear the thunder going across the ceiling. It's fabulous. You're just immersed in the sound. One of my favorite cuts recently, Once Upon a Time in America by Ennio Morricone with Yo-Yo Ma. I mean, when I listened to this thing, it just tore at my heartstrings. I just started to tear up. I couldn't believe how emotional it was. Just so beautiful. And then Chris Body with Mark Knopfler doing What a Wonderful World. So I didn't expect this. Started playing, and then Mark Knopfler starts singing in his patented voice, right? Very reflective. By the way, Dire Straits Brothers in Arms. We'll get there, remind me. So I'm listening to this, and as I'm listening to words, as I've said earlier before in other videos, I don't really listen to the words. Now, I happen to know the words in this song because I've played this particular song many times, but the Louis Armstrong version. So I know the words. But as Mark Knopfler is singing and I hear the words, almost instantly I start reflecting on the current state. This is January 2021. We're still in lockdown. A lot of people are undergoing some very, very difficult challenges. Some people have lost their loved ones. Some people are in ICUs right now. It's a terrible time for a lot of people. And this song made me think of hope, that there is hopefully an end to this. There's a future. And I mean, that's what really good music and a system that can do that brings for me. That's why I think I'm in this. I love when that magic happens, and I will remember this particular time because I will think back of the magical times, and this will be one of them. So anyway, if you don't know this song, dig it up. So getting back to the Dire Straits Brothers in Arms, there's a great YouTube channel called Professor of Rock. You guys should check it.
Yeah, I know that one.
What a great channel. I love it anyway. So he talks about Dire Straits Brothers in Arms, and he goes into some detail in terms of how the tracks were done. Anyway, look into it.
Do you like
It's
his
wonderful.
hat? He wears his hat usually.
It doesn't bother me. I like his glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, speaking of What a Wonderful World, a really, really good version of it is by this Hawaiian big guy, from what I understand, Israel. Let me see if I'll do justice to his last name, Kamakawiwo'ole, I think. So the track is called Over the Rainbow / What a Wonderful World. So it's a combination. He plays the ukulele. So imagine this guy, sumo
Giant
wrestler.
guy with a little tiny...
500 pounds. And he's got this tiny little ukulele. Remember Sesame Street? What is it, Walking Through the Tulip? What was it called? That song. Anyway, it just reminded me. Anyway, great version as well if you want to check something out. But his version is much more joyful, not quite as reflective as Mark Knopfler's. It's also a really good recording. So these are some tracks. I'll have Jerry put up the, not links, but the what do you call it,
Wow.
thumbnails, so you can see and check it out for yourself as well. So for me, huge thumbs up. Even though it's not inexpensive, it's a lot of money, but relative to what it offers, I can honestly say you don't need to buy separates anymore. As a matter of fact, where I used to say for the money that the MA9000 cost, for a little bit more, you could buy the C47 at the time with the MC302, you get a better sound. I'm actually not sure that the C49 and the MC312, the current versions of the separates, is any better. Because for this, I would just buy this and just be happy. Anyway, over to you.
So essentially, this thing is, in my opinion, better than C2700
Really?
and MC312 combination.
Oh, wow.
I like it that much.
Wow. Go
All
ahead.
right. If you A/B it, maybe the separates will do some things a tiny bit better, but in terms of the entire package. So what's funny is that this is like the condo version of those two separates. It is smaller, it's much more easily managed, and it has it just seems to have a bit better. The sound is put together a little bit better.
It's integrated.
It's integrated, which means
See what I just did there?
the sound is better integrated. What you have to realize is that, obviously, when you have separates, you have to have all these cables, and at least one cable between the preamp and the power amp,
And a good one.
and a good one.
Yeah.
So what they're able to do with these all-in-ones, which is always a high value factor, is that signals go over very short length conductors, and it's all voiced together. So they are able to address and design specifically for that application. Anytime you have high quality short run kind of conductors, it's better. This is why these units sound so good, even though in essence they're spending less money to manufacture it. Because it's all put together in a way and they have a chance to specifically voice it. And it definitely works. It's the MA12000 is almost like vintage because it has that kind of joy, that fun factor, that kind of like, it's a little bit carefree. Because you just slap something on there and it plays and it sounds really good. You don't have to fret about it. It's kind of got that maintenance-free kind of sound. And so just to tell the people out there, I put it together with Sonus faber luminaries, with the new ones, which I've just sort of broken in. But I wasn't using in that system super crazy expensive stuff. So there was an Inuus Zen Mini, which is a, under $2,000 streamer.
1650 Canadian.
1649 Canadian. I was using $1,200 digital cable, but from Audio Quest. I mean, that's nuts. We have a Valhalla 2
the
here.
Cable
we have a Valhalla 2
is
digital.
2/3 the money.
I know, but normally I couldn't find the other slightly less expensive one, so I ended up using that. And so but I know that cable is not going to be.
And the speaker cable is.
Well, it was only Blue Heaven.
Yeah.
So again, it was a longer version. That's about $1,000
How much?
Canadian.
I thought it'd be a lot less.
It depends on the length.
Yeah.
So ours is a little bit longer. We have a 3-meter version, which is about $1,200 Canadian. The 2-meter would be significantly less, under $1,000. So in around that range. So I would say $1,000, something in that range, which is not ridiculous for this setup. Because we have much more expensive stuff in here. We didn't put I didn't combine the very, very best that we have in the store. I did put good stuff in there. But the speaker cable itself, easily we could have upgraded to another level above or beyond that, and it again would have improved. So when I was listening, I definitely had the notion that, this is really good, but I could be much, much, much better. And I was thinking, what McIntosh really needs to do is to create one of these units with a streamer inside. That would be and you would never need anything else. You wouldn't need anything else. There'd be no questions. You just plug it in and play it. It looks big, but everything would be in there. So I was playing stuff. I did notice that after about an hour, maybe even up to an hour and a half, the warm-up changed it quite a bit, and it opened up in a major way, and it lost some of that thickness that I originally heard when it was first switched.
Do you think it's fully broken in yet?
No, it can't be, because it was changing. It changed so much. I listened for about 2.5 hours, and it was really good right at the beginning. Warm and rich, and it had a kind, that weight. There was a weight there that I had not experienced from the MA8900, even the 9000. It definitely had that kind of heft, and then it just opened up. It blossomed in a sense, and the top end became crystal clear. And so the way I verified that was pretty simple. I would play tracks that I knew weren't any good.
Bananarama?
Yes, I couldn't listen to it beyond about 30 seconds. So in that sense, it is way more audiophile than the offerings that are below this price range from McIntosh. It is a full-blown audiophile integrated amp with all the accoutrements, okay? But when you play really good music, when you play really well-recorded material, it doesn't have any weaknesses. It's just really, 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 really good. So you're listening to it, and you just disappear into it. It was able to make the Nearness of You by Ella and Louie, which is one of my go-to tracks. It made it sound like when I had my big old horn system, it was able to make that, what we had set up, or what I had set up, sound very similar, which I didn't expect. So it's a mono recording, and when you're listening to it, they're dead smack in the middle, and you would swear they were there, and that that kind of warbling from the voices that Louis has, it was just evident. It sounded like he was in the room. And I wasn't quite expecting that because, we're talking about small speakers. And the more I listened to it, even though the Guarneri is a relatively expensive stand mounter, it sounded like a floor stander. It sounded like the Serafino. It sounded, if you're a little bit, you have a little smaller space, that speaker is just perfect. It looks tiny, but it's not a tiny sound. And certainly with the MA12000, it is not a tiny sound. It is a big sound. And you get all of it, and everything's rock solid. The imaging and the sound staging is gigantic, and then the imaging is just pinpoint, but not in a bright, brittle kind of way. We talk a lot about the same things, and the MA12000 seems to be kind of like at the very pinnacle of all those kinds of things that we like to hear in our systems at the store. I wouldn't say it's an orthodoxy, but I guess it sort of is for us. It does represent those kinds of things that we like. It's smooth, liquid, it's relaxed, detailed, it's not aggressive, it's engaging. So I can't be more positive about what I experienced.
Well, there you have it. Both of us like another McIntosh, which again is starting to get boring, but it happens to be true. If you get a chance, definitely check it out. Jerry's telling us we got to wrap it up because the cameras are going to shut off any minute now. So, Adrian from Audio Excellence Canada, Philip, Jerry behind the camera. Thanks for watching. Again, thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notification, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.